China probably isn't the first place that comes to mind when you think of a circular economy. But maybe it should be. The world's largest manufacturing hub and home to a rapidly expanding consumer market, China has deep roots in circular economy practices such as ancient agricultural systems. While circular thinking isn't new in China, many of its initiatives, like its well-known eco-industrial parks, have remained relatively isolated. So why could all that be about to change? Amid rising emissions, rising temperatures, and the rapid rollout of material-intensive renewable energy systems that promise to curb them both, climate mitigation and adaptation are central priorities for China's government. In this episode, Seb talks to Lei Chen from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's China team, going behind the headlines to look not only at the role China can play in accelerating global circular transitions, but why the circular economy could offer China a triple win solution in achieving its climate ambitions.
Lei, thank you for joining us on the Circular Economy Show podcast. Many of our listeners will be familiar with the state of play of the circular economy in contexts like the European Union, perhaps many even in North America. A lot less of them will know what's happening in China with the topic. So I thought I'd start this podcast by asking for you to characterize where is the topic of circular economy in China right now?
Absolutely, Saib. Thank you for having me for this session. I would be happy to delve into this topic. Circular economy in China actually has deep historical roots. One of the earliest examples is the traditional agricultural system, which is called the mulberry deck and fish pond system. So it's actually originated more than 2,500 years ago, and you can still see them in some part of southern China. So in simple terms, the farmers grew mulberry trees to feed silkworms for silk production, and the leftovers, leaves and the silkworm waste then used for to feed the fish in ponds, and then the fish waste fertilized the mulberry trees. So you can see it's actually created a natural cycles where everything is reused and nothing went to waste. So entering modern days, it was not until the mid 2000s that China began to adopt formally the circular economy principles, focusing on the 3R strategy, which is reduce, reuse, and recycle. They were inspired by the waste management legislation in Germany and Japan. And the initial focus was very much heavily geared towards pollution control and waste management. And then, because at that moment, China has went through a rapid industrialization and urbanization, and the milestone movement for this stage was the introduction of the circular economy promotion law since 2008. So one of the key strategies at this period was the development of eco-industry parks. Those are the zones that the business collaborates together. The waste or byproducts from one company become the raw materials for another. And alongside, China also started to build up a vast recycling network. These systems are designed to handle both domestic and industrial waste, recovering valuable material that could otherwise end up in landfills or incineration. So more recently, China started to shift the focus more on the consumption side. As people know that China is a manufacturing hub in the world, but actually we have such a big population, and people are now, the government are now starting to look, okay, if we can shift to the consumption model, employing a circular principle. So this is a new feature. And then even today, the circular economy is increasingly linked to climate goals in China, where the ambitious targets of achieving carbon neutrality by 2060 and circular practice are seen as a vital tool for reducing emissions and promote climate resilience across different sectors. So yeah, circular economy really is a fascinating concept in China. It's gaining even further momentum now.
So we've done this research on the link between the circular economy and how it can support what China wants to achieve in terms of climate goals. This is an extension of some research we did more globally in 2019 called Completing the Picture. And we're launching, publishing, promoting that during the COP conversations later this month in November. My question to you is, where did the need for this research come from? What do we do? What did we do?
It's become very evident that from different legislation and framework and government policies that circular economy can and should be a part of the climate solution in China. And together with energy transition, they complete the picture for addressing the climate change. Well, there is a strong consensus on the importance of the circular economy on climate action, but the barriers remains there to realize its full potential. For instance, the qualification barrier, the implementation barrier, and then as EMF, we realize that the need to move beyond the why. So the why circular economy matters and focus on the whole question. So how to deliver its potential. So as a EMF, we have been, as you mentioned, working, have some efforts to try to bridge the evidence gap by, for instance, publishing the completing the picture reports some years ago. And we also have done some research in China in recent years. So, but we see in China the localized efforts was still lacking and sometimes also scattered. So that's why we tried to initiate a research collaboration with Tsinghua University. We realized the facts are important, but the narrative matters as well. So we spent quite some big time crafting the narrative and to tell a compelling China story. So the story why it differs from the typical narrative we often hear and encounter in the China markets. So our aim for this research was to make these concepts more relatable and engaging for a wider audience. So not only for circular economy experts, but also for climate experts.
I really liked what you said there, Lei, about this is about the data and the evidence and the insights to support a point of view, but it's also about the story and the narrative for China and the relevance of circular economy for China specifically, and those two things being equally important. So let's get into that. Like, what if there were one or two key insights that someone would take from this publication? What would those be?
Well, yes, I think the key message is actually embedded in the title of the paper. So the title of the paper is Circular Economy as a triple play solution for achieving China's climate objectives. So the triple play is a key message. So our research has offered a triple play solution, being reducing greenhouse gas emissions in hard to abate sectors, and secondly, helping secure critical raw materials in the transition to renewable energy, and thirdly, enhance resilience across the economy against the effects of climate change. So that's the three strategy we set out for circular economy in climate action. So I just want to quickly deep dive into each of the strategy of the three triple play maybe. So firstly about reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So we have in EMF, we have the narrative, 55 of the emission comes from energy and 45 comes from the way we produce and consume food and goods. So it is very evident that circular economy should be part of the emission reduction strategy. And then in this research, we focused on three key sectors that shape our daily life. So built environments, mobility, and plastics. So in total, they accounts for nearly half of the total emissions in China. And by synthesizing the existing studies, we found out that if applying a set of circular strategy, then we can reduce 1/3 of third of the emissions of these three sectors. So it's quite a big potential. And then secondly, about securing raw materials. So, China is actually leading the world in renewable energy transition, but the element which is often overlooked is the renewable energy transition relies very much on the critical raw materials, and much of it actually depends on imports. So how circular economy can support decoupling the renewable energy growth from this material extraction and use. So that could be a big topic, and we have done some research on this. So that's the second strategy of the triple play solution, and certainly which is relatively undiscovered, and we found very limited evidence. It's the linkage between circular economy and the resilience, supply chain resilience, and climate adaptations.
And it feels like that resilience topic will only increase as it's in its importance as the conversation around climate change adaptation increases as well. I really think that point you make, the second kind of insight that you mentioned about the dependency, one, that it's perhaps some listeners won't know just how significant the investment and speed of transition towards renewable energy, towards electric vehicles is in China, which is really substantial. I was reading a piece the other week about like the scale of the infrastructure build up and the likelihood of being really a high percentage of electric vehicle cars by a very short time frame, being far outstripping the kind of progress that we're seeing in other parts of the world, whilst we're also seeing progress in other parts of the world. But of course, that being effectively also very dependent on raw material extraction and increased utilization and circulation of those critical raw materials, from both a resilience point of view, but also from a material effectiveness point of view. It's really it's really significant, and obviously that's hopefully where the insights of this paper come in. So we've published this research, we've told hopefully a compelling story. What are the key recommendations that come out of that work for a circular economy in China?
Yes, thank you. As in this paper, we have leveraged the EMF's Universal Policy Goals framework for come up with a set of actions. So we have proposed 15 actions and 5 goals. So they are like so the policy can take. So we focus very much on the policy making side. So the first one is stimulating design for the circular economy. So design is always important, and we always have to emphasize as upstream innovation opportunity here throughout the economy. And the second is about managing resources to preserve value. So how we can really build efficient and high value resource management. So move beyond waste management, but resource stewardship. So that's the key element to harness the benefits of the design considerations. And then we talk about how to make the economics work. So we need some incentives and perhaps also some disincentives for the linear model to make the economics work, to make the business case appealing. And then the fourth point, so we mentioned about invest in innovation, infrastructure, and skills. So we need some hardware and software properly integrated to deliver the potential to upskill the circular benefits. So that's about the facility, that's about the data infrastructure, that's about the skills needed from the labor force. And we also talk about collaborate for system change, because circular economy, as we put it in the paper, it is a system agenda, and a system agenda needs systems thinking and a system framework. So and we have the policy, and we need the business, and we need the civil society, and also all the silos, they have to work together to deliver the benefits needed. So that's 5 goals, and each goal we propose 3 actions. Well, there could be more, of course, but we keep it 15, and I think they are all very, very relevant for China, for the climate, and for circular economy. So
you thought asking him to do 15 things was a good place to leave it, was enough. And I think the emphasis of those actions you're talking about, of course, are towards policymakers in terms of move beyond thinking about this as a waste management issue alone. All 5 of those areas you articulate talk about making policies that don't purely focus on that kind of downstream recycling end of pipe, but actually move upstream. Think about the economics, think about resource stewardship, investment and collaboration. Lei, thank you very much for joining us on the Circular Economy Show podcast.
As well as facing considerable climate challenges as a country, China also plays a central role in global climate policy. Meeting its ambitious climate targets will require a powerful, integrated strategy that cuts hard-to-abate emissions at scale, keeps critical minerals essential for the energy transition in use, and strengthens its economy against shocks. With COP30 coming up, and a 15th five-year plan now in active development, a significant opportunity exists for policymakers to integrate circular economy measures into their overarching climate strategies and harness its power as a triple play solution for advancing climate action. Liking what you're hearing? Drop us a line or a review and let us know. And don't forget to join us next time for the final episode in this Circling Back series of the Circular Economy Show, all about design.